Catching up with Sarah and Ginny, fueled by laughter and insights aplenty. Curiosity, connection, and learning that sticks. Real talk, real lives with practical tips. Welcome to Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny. Come on in.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny. And we have got the fabulous Louise Selby here, and we've realised it's like a Louise Selby sandwich, isn't it, Louise? Louise is the filling to our metaphoric bits of bread. So
yeah, I'm feeling a bit squashed here. Squashed by Sarah and Ginny. That there could be a lot worse things that squashed you, couldn't there?
I reckon there'd be a lot of laughter and a lot of chatter. If that were in real life, there'd be a lot of laughter and a lot of chatter. If it was Louise, Ginny sandwich, yes. Wonderful. I love you for having me with Louise.
Yeah,
it's
I love
lovely
that
to be here,
idea of
thank
a Ginny and Sarah sandwich. So, Louise, introduce yourself to us. Tell us kind of who you are and what you do, please.
Hi, yeah, so I'm Louise Selby. I am a teacher by trade. I have been in the business for quite a few years, like 25 plus. And I've been specialising in special needs for quite a long time, particularly literacy and dyslexia. So I call myself a dyslexia specialist. I do some assessments. I do lots of training. I do lots of consulting and generally interested in all things literacy. I'm also author of Morph Mastery, Morphological Intervention, and the books all about dyslexia. There's a primary one and a secondary one. That's me. I'm based in Hertfordshire, Hitchin, but tend to work quite a lot all over. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, they're all wonderful books. If you haven't seen those, I will
Thank
add them
you.
to our. We're creating a good reads list. So there you go. We add the books that you recommend, but also the books that your books as well.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
Ginny?
Fabulous. So, can you tell us what has been a wow moment for you, Louise? And it can be recently, it can be, we've had them from a long time ago, but just something that really sticks in your head and has really changed things for you.
Yeah, that's a hard one because there's so many. If and actually my whole work in life is all wow and terrible moments. It's all the highs and the lows, but there's so many highs. And I think I had one this morning actually, but it's linked. I think my wow moment was, so I'm creator of Morph Mastery, as I've said, which is a morphological intervention, and I'm doing some research at the moment, doing a research project with Glasgow University into the impact of a morphological approach, and particularly using Morph Mastery for children with literacy, spelling difficulties. And so I've been working with schools all over the country, and I've been working with the local authority in Lincolnshire actually for quite some time before the research, and this is just a wow phase. The whole Lincolnshire, if you're in Lincolnshire listening, huge cheer for your provision, but they have some marvellous SPLD advisory teachers there. Jane and Odette are amazing. There's lots of others too, and they have got this intervention embedded in the county. And my wow moment was when I met with one of their schools who wanted to talk to me about, they just wanted to talk to me about how they've embraced it as a whole school and how enthusiastic they are about it. So Charlotte and Sue, we met, and I thought they'd be saying, oh, we love this intervention. It's really helped X, Y, and Z child, and that impact for that small group has been amazing. But they said, we love Morph Mastery. We've taken it on. We've loved it so much. We've taken it on as a whole school. We've devised a whole school spelling program based on it. We've got groups across the whole school doing it. And they just were so enthusiastic. And they said to me, I had this quote, it was Sue. She said something like, when I walk past a Morph Mastery group, it's joyful. I hear joy.
Oh,
And she said, there's no there's no children dragging their heels to go to Morph Mastery. They can't wait. And that there were so many things in that comment, because firstly, the fact that she's just walking past Morph Mastery, it's just in action in the whole school. And that is joy for me, because what we need to be doing in our practice is influencing whole school practice.
yeah.
And that can start with a few, but the whole school. But that sense of joy, and they are so enthusiastic, and that is what I intended with Morph Mastery. And that's the feedback I always get, that looking at words in this way is just so engaging and so meaningful, literally meaningful, because it's units of meaning in words.
Yes.
And the fact that their intervention, that the children love them, the adults love them. So that was a huge wow moment for me. And I suppose, what I think, whether it's Morph Mastery or something else, in a way, it doesn't really matter. It's about influencing the whole, the whole school practice. It's about bringing on board everyone. Charlotte and Sue, I think neither of them are the Senko. One of them is a literacy coordinator and another one is an early years coordinator, but they're overseeing the Morph Mastery. So that was such a wow moment for me, because I thought that was my intention, to have a lot of fun, to improve outcomes, and to influence whole school practice. Yeah.
And it's really interesting, because we've been talking a little bit about this, Ginny, haven't we? Around it's those regular small bits of practice that change, become embedded. Everyone understands why you're doing it. Everyone enjoys it. Everyone is starting to see an impact, and that's how. So you're starting to spread. And as you said, sometimes it doesn't matter what it is. It's just having that understanding about why something works. How to do it, and all doing the same little thing, regular, having that regular time, having that regular understanding of what it looks like, and then having joy.
Being consistent and
Being consistent.
taking things on. And I
Yeah.
think what excited me most, because I love to do myself out of a job. I love to enable others and empower others to do things. And they they didn't need me to help with their whole school curriculum. I set them up, got them trained, and they'd done it themselves. And that's the only way, isn't it, for SEN provision?
And it is that. No, absolutely, because it's about, and it's not about constantly being taken out to do it. It's about everyone being involved in the journey and having pleasure from it as well. And those little bits fitting together.
And it's about, you gave them the little acorn, and they planted it, didn't they? And they've this is a great metaphor. And then they've watered it, they've nurtured it, and now it has become this whole tree for the whole school. But I love the fact that you're saying the word enjoyment, you're saying the word joy, you're saying the word fun alongside impact.
Exactly.
To have those
Engagement.
merging together is what we want. And we want everyone to enjoy what is happening in school. And that is what you've seen in practice. And it must just be phenomenal to actually see your little acorn has grown.
I can't tell you. That's kept me on a high for so long. And I suppose that's where the highs and lows come in, because sometimes you have a school who invests in the training, invest in an adult to do it. And I see the TA, amazing people, TAs, a big shout out for TAs. They run the show. They are incredible. But not every school kind of sees that, do they? And I see the TA and they say, this is amazing, this is fantastic, the children are loving it, I'm loving it, but I'm doing PPA cover, I'm doing first aid, the teacher doesn't believe in it, this person thinks and that's the low, because it's where it hasn't been, it's been an add-on and it hasn't worked. And that investment, it needs to be that whole school taking it on, or it doesn't work.
And adding in those routines.
And I think we go back to the sandwich analogy as well. Actually, we've got amazing TAs, but actually the other part of the outside of the sandwich needs to be senior leadership, head teacher, also, that everybody's got the buy-in. It can't be
Yeah.
compartmentalized. And I'm
Yeah.
guessing in the school where it's worked, you have got all of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I like your analogies, and I'm thinking about a whole table of like a whole table, and the tablecloth is like that key, but that's the whole sort of SLT, isn't it? And that you can put whatever you want on that table, but unless that whole tablecloth is there, it doesn't. And especially with dyslexia, because it's not going anywhere. Dyslexia, you know, and SPLD, whatever we call it, it's not going anywhere. It's persistent need, and so we've all got to work together to make support work. So
I love that. Louise, wonderful. Thank you. Thinking about our next question, and I know when you were saying in terms of giving us some songs, you had quite a few to choose from. If Send were a song, what would it be and why?
Yeah, so I did have 3,267 because that's whole life. But actually, it leads on really nicely from what we've just said. So I've been dying to bring it in, but I've been waiting patiently. So if Send were a song, like hear me out here, the song would be Hot Stuff by Donna Summer. Right. So bear with me on this. The reason is, perhaps I'm showing my age, but have you seen the film Full Monty?
Yes.
One of my all-time favourite films. And the funniest scene in that film. So just for people listening, the Full Monty is about set in Sheffield, about people who work, I can't remember, but they're at a job club and they're out of work and they're trying to make meaning of their life. And it's about that. It's really funny. And they end up getting into a sort of stripping act, a comedy stripping act through. It's not, it's fine. The film is absolutely fine. But there's this scene of them in the dole queue, and I don't know if you've seen this, in the job centre they're playing Hot Stuff by Donna Summer. Is it set in the 70s? I don't know, but
I know.
I can't remember.
Later.
Yeah, but they're standing in the job queue and they're all there and they're all just. And then when she starts singing, and I want to do the actions here, I can't. So I have to describe, audio description. They all start dancing a little bit, and you can see it just sort of start. It's like a ripple effect.
It's a shoulder, isn't it, Louise?
Yeah. And then when she goes Hot Stuff, I'm going to try and do it. Hot, it's with the arms. They're sort of doing the thrust. It's comedy. It's a comedy thing. Yeah. But it's so funny. It's so funny because you see what they've been doing and what's become embedded in their lives starts to take on. And it's this one of them starts, then the other starts, and suddenly they're doing the whole thrust. And that's the point. That's where, if Send were a song, it's that gradual, it's that start doing it, and then you're influenced by it, and it becomes automatic, and then everyone's suddenly doing it, and the whole dole queue is doing the Donna Summer thrust. That is what if Send were a song for me today, because that's like what we've been talking about, isn't it, with that school. And I think as well, in terms of, I could say so much about the white paper and we haven't got lots of time, but in terms of what's happening for us nationally with the white paper and with all the curriculum and the neurodivergent report, if we can just make Send, we can't make Send anything, but if we can make our provision more about whole practice, not just all the different parts doing their different thing, but and that inclusion, it's not an add-on. That whole practice, it catches on from the root, and then we get the specialisms, don't we? So that's my song.
And the ripple effect. Sorry, just the ripple effect in the job centre as one moves a shoulder and the other one. That's what we want. That's what we need to be having. It's that with your more mastery, having that little group, it's working, and then other people see it, and then somebody else sees it, and they're like, oh, we could try that, and we could try this, and suddenly, and people see why, the purpose. And then it's not so tricky, like it's specialism, or you have to have.
mm,
It's
mm.
actually something we can all do together.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah,
and, I,
couldn't
and
agree more.
I'm going back to
Like
my
the roots. Oh, you're gonna go
yeah,
for the
back to the
roots.
roots. You
Yeah,
see, the
good
acorn.
roots.
The acorn, it
Yeah,
grows, and
yeah,
then
Yeah,
the roots,
yeah.
and then it becomes established.
Mm.
established.
An interesting fact is they they did some research and they grew a tree in a laboratory with no wind coming in or anything, and
Oh, yeah.
eventually the tree toppled over from its own weight. So actually this idea of sometimes having
Resistant.
people question us,
Yeah.
resistance makes
How
our metaphorical
interesting.
tree stronger.
Yeah, yeah. How
Oh, I like that,
interesting.
Ginny.
Yeah,
Oh, that's it now.
yeah,
There we
yeah,
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 go.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah,
I have
needing,
yeah. That
yeah,
yeah,
challenge, you don't
yeah,
tighten up and you
yeah,
don't kind of like think about it from a different angle, or
yeah.
just having someone else's perspective about something. And that's
mm,
the opportunity for those conversations as well, isn't it?
mm,
Yeah.
That we're not
mm.
having so much, because there's kind of a lot of siloed things, or
Yes,
feel like you might
y-
say something wrong, or
yes,
it's not going with
absolutely.
the opinion, which
Yeah,
is not
yeah.
great.
So
Mm.
important. And, in my field in dyslexia, I've been mm, talking about this a lot because I do assessment as
Yeah,
well. And assessment, there's a lot of criteria for us, and it's a
Yeah,
tricky report format and so on. But we have to work together, and we have to
yeah.
discuss our work with other professionals, not just dyslexia
Mhm.
professionals. And, I think we do. I think we're quite good at that.
yeah,
But it makes so much difference. It's that tree without the
Yes,
wind otherwise.
yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah, the
like that.
tree without
Nick.
the wind.
Love it.
There we
True
go.
that
Mm.
way.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh,
Well, moving on to Louise, have you got a book that you would like to recommend?
right.
Including your
Yes.
own,
Yes, I
including
have.
your
Oh,
own.
including my own. So I thought about this as well, and the book that I've come up with is a slight contrast to the hot stuff. So it's actually the Bible, because because
That is a slight
it is
contrast.
a
Yeah,
slight
yeah.
contrast. And I thought
That's
only
very.
me. And so I do read the Bible quite a bit, and I mean, I wouldn't normally be quoting the Bible when I'm talking about send, but the other day I was reading, and it's the song, "The wise man built his house on
Yes,
the rock,"
yes,
that one. I was reading
yes.
that passage and it's about where we lay our foundations. Do we lay our
Mhm,
foundations on the sand, and it all comes tumbling down? And there's a cue for a song there, and that could have been our song, couldn't it?
mhm,
Um, and and the sense that with what we've been talking about, we need those roots, we need that wisdom and that intervention. You can do that, you can tick that box, but you need to put those roots down. And there's so much there are so many stories in the Bible, actually, that wisdom for life and wisdom for practice. And isn't it great that we can apply it to so
mm,
many things? But yeah, I thought, what better contrast can you have with Hot Stuff by Donna Summer and the Full Monty, a little bit risque, and the Bible? It's a great read. And if you want to, just chill a little bit from it, there's some real nuggets of wisdom there. Yeah.
And I love it. The foundations, again,
Yeah.
back to the roots. They're kind of like making
Absolutely.
sure,
Yeah,
really
yeah,
think about what you build. And actually, with you going back to your wow moment as well, with the more mastery,
yeah.
actually looking at, if you hadn't have had that belief from the senior leadership team, for that
Mm,
whole school kind of level
mm,
of those foundations were there of this, we need this because this is the barrier that a lot of our learners are facing. And this is what we kind of, or just that belief that something joyful and enjoyable
mm.
will support and help and create that change in practice. I love that.
Yeah, but it takes time,
Takes
and
time.
I
Yes.
think that's another thing I've been thinking
Yeah.
about in
Time.
relation to more mastery, because the feedback I get is it's either that people say, well, it's a lot to get started.
mm,
And it is, it is a lot to get started. There's a lot there. It's all brilliant, but it is a lot. It's a different approach. But people say to me, when I persisted, it was amazing and it was just what we needed, and the pupils are making progress. And it's that sense you have to build your foundations. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's no easy answer. People ask me all the time, well, I want a
Okay.
free off-the-shelf intervention that can ideally be done while I'm teaching the class as well, for about 10 minutes every fortnight. I think that would be lovely. But do you care about the impact? And it's that getting those foundations right
And
to
I
start
think
with.
sometimes it's that thing around the foundations have developed for that learner, that young person, kind of with so many kind of things built in that need to be unpicked in order. So actually, you can't just lay it on top of the existing foundations. That's the other problem.
Yeah.
I get the same thing. It's like, what's your quick fix? And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
often
yeah.
say, bring joy. Make it fun.
Engagement,
Read, make it fun. If it's writing, make it fun. If it's oracy, do it about something they care about. Make it fun, make it purposeful, make it meaningful, and then go from there. But it does take time. And I think Ginny and I recorded an episode recently about those little small things that you do repetitively, but it can take a year, 2 years, and before you see that real. But when you see it, as you said, you've managed to get those foundations moved and shifted. But the other side is, if you don't do it, those kind of foundations will continue to be built on badly.
That's such an important point, Sarah, because the other thing is about how we evaluate what's happening. And again, I have people say to me, well, they've been doing this, whatever it is I've suggested, for 4 weeks and their levels haven't gone back to age related. And I think, okay, what are we measuring here? How are we measuring pupil progress? Are we looking at that depth? Are we investing in the long term? Are we looking at those foundations which we can't see? But I suppose, like your tree, in a year's time, it's going to fall down because they're not there. We have to look much more broadly, and we have to measure. I know we have to measure impact. We do. We have to be data driven.
But the impact is around. It doesn't have to be about a level. It can be about an engagement in words and language, and understanding the way that language works. But also, I like that idea of kind of playing, being able to play, having enough understanding and enough confidence to play around with language.
Yes.
And it having that. And we talk a lot about kind of those learning journeys. So you've got a whole learning journey where you're capturing all those bits. And even a little video of a session like now, then in 4 weeks, then another 4 weeks. Actually, for that learner, what difference did you see in the way they were even engaging in the activity?
I get that all the time with Morph Mastery. All the time they are so much more engaged and confident, and they're playing with language. How do I prove this is impact? They ask me, how do I prove this is impact?
Well, you have to baseline. I guess they'd have to baseline at the start. What is their engagement and their ability to play with language like? And I would always say, a tricky video kind of, or something around, or oral kind of bit of a thing of like, even the language you were using around this. Or
I think, I think it's exactly that. And student, student voice, pupil voice, but also what we see in Morph Mastery, and which I think answers this, is actually what's happening in class. What are they like in class? They're more confident in class, getting the teacher voice about that. And that's not a data, is it? But
is if
that's an impact.
But you have it as a measure somewhere. Louise. So we need a wider.
Oh, well, we're working on that with the research project, and with that I've been doing like pupil voice, and I'm trying to I'm thinking about that. It is a real deal.
I love that. Love it.
I just love it. And really getting to the crux of, actually, are these children now more open to learning? Are they more engaged? Actually, it's buy-in from everyone. And when anybody, be it a child or an adult, buys in and enjoys, they are more open to it. So, I mean, absolutely just fascinating stuff.
It is,
Louise. The whole journey kind of this school that you're talking about is just fascinating, and it's about everybody, not about some. And that is what we're all about. It has been absolutely brilliant. And you know, the kind of we've gone from hot stuff to the Bible. We've never done that before.
I mean, who else would you do that with? Louise, Sarah, and Ginny. Really, I love that.
Sorry about that, but
the hot stuff and Bible sandwich.
Yeah,
I mean, we're going to have to. This is going to be the tagline, isn't it? From Hotline to the Bible. That's going to be the title of this episode.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting tagline, I think, for this interview, but an absolutely brilliant one. Louise has been absolutely brilliant, and I just love the conversations that we've had from your wow moment and from your song and from your book. So thank you so much, Louise.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. I love your podcast. I listen to it when I'm dog walking, and it brightens up my day. So it's a pleasure to be on. Thank you.
Oh. And as we always say, Sarah, it's always a pleasure.
Never a chore. Thanks, Louise.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks for joining us this time on Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny.
Always a pleasure and never a chore.